Angie from Canterbury Trails Farm. Before we get started on today's project, I thought we'd come out here and look at the garden real quick. We had a cold front. It was 25 this morning. It's pretty unusual this early in November. Usually we don't have a freeze until the week of Thanksgiving. So I was just going to come out here and check my gardens. I have everything under the frames and see how my greens are doing. I think they're going to be ready. It's pretty cold. As you can see, I got all the gardens frames on all the gardens. As soon as these all fall, the pine needles, they're all changing now. As soon as they fall, I'll be using those as mulch on my strawberries and some other things I've got going. Just wanted to check. Well, my greens are growing pretty good. See, I've got some pecan trees growing in the greenhouse to plant out at the other house. It is really cold out here. I just wanted to come out and check. I got carrots growing in all these. They're just bitty right now. I'll be putting mulch on those too. As soon as these pine needles fall, I'll just be piling it on. Berries starting to drop everything. My strawberries, I really want to put the pine needles on there as soon as I can. I see there's a little bit. Probably by the end of this week I'll have enough to cover that. I got a new elderberry tree growing, which is good because I'll dig that up in the spring, along with any blackberries that have popped out to take to the up to the farm and plant those. So I just wanted to check out here and see how things were going. So we're going to go in today and we're going to be making a yo-yo quilt. I'm going to show you how to make yo-yos. So we'll go back in this house where it's a lot warmer and get started on that. So we're back inside the house, and it's a lot warmer in here than it is out there, let me tell you that. Of course, some of you up in the northern states might call me out for my wimpiness because I can't handle the 30 degrees we got out there. But it's pretty cold for us Texas people. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to talk about yo-yo quilts. And yo-yos are little, start out as just a circle of fabric, and they get sewed into these little round poofs. You may have seen them at craft stores and stuff. People make little clowns out of them. You can sew these in a square and just make like a pillow cover. They're pretty versatile and they're really easy, and the reason why I like them is because they allow you to use up a lot of scraps. First thing you want to do is determine what you want to use for a pattern. I had this lid. It was about the perfect size. It came off of some, I don't know, like a Chinese food takeout thing, and you can see it's pretty old now. So what I did, because it's getting old and I'm afraid it's going to die eventually, the plastic makes it so much easier when you're tracing. And what I'll often do is I'll sit in front of the TV and I'll trace a whole bunch, all my scraps, so I have all my circles, and then I'll cut them out. Now I don't have a rotary thing. I do everything old school. I made a cardboard. So what you would do is you put it on your scrap and you trace around it, and then you cut it out. And you want to turn it so the inside outside is facing you. Need a needle and thread. And what you're sort of going to do is you're going to fold the edges up as if you were hemming it. Just put your needle in there. And you're going to do around and around. You're doing like if you were doing like a running stitch. You're just pushing it in, out, in. And as you do that, you're just folding this edge around. Now, if you're not so limber with the fingers there, you can iron these edges and then they'll already be done for you. Or you can even pin them if you want to do that. But I think once you get the hang of doing it, going around and around there, it becomes sort of easy, and you just do it without even thinking. So you're going to go all the way around. Doesn't matter if your stitches are big or little. I mean, you want to try to obviously keep them smaller, but you don't want. But I mean, this is a good project for a beginning seamstress or even for a child. like I said, since your stitches don't matter if they're neat or in a straight line or if they're the same size, it doesn't matter. I'm almost to my end of my little thing here. You can see it's sort of starting to curl up. Looks like, almost looks like a little bonnet, like a little baby bonnet. Okay, so I've reached the end of where I was when I started. So it's just like gathering is what you've done. You're just doing it in a circle. So here we go. When you start to pull it, it will start to automatically gather into a little just sort of straighten it out. You want the little circle gather to be in the middle. And I just sort of take a stitch here and stitch there, just sort of stitch the middles together. That's that. And then I just poke it through the middle underneath and just do a couple anchoring stitches just so you've anchored your gather so it's not going to come off. Now remember, most of the time you're going to use this in a quilt or a pillow cover, so you want this to be functional. So part of functionality is strength. So take the time to do an extra couple stitches just to make it a little stronger. One of the little poofs here. Now I have several of them. Now you can do them, you could sew these. If I was doing a straight, like a square pillow cover, you would just sew these in a line, however long you want. Always allow a little extra because you're going to have hems or sewing things on. So you would just do them in a line. And then you would, figure out how many rows you think you're going to need. You could just keep laying it on top of the pillow you intend to cover until you have enough. But because I'm working on a quilt, I'm sewing mine in like a little flower sort of thing here. And I've got one in the center, and then I like working with even numbers, and so I've got 6. I've got 3 on the bottom, 3 on the top, just like a flower. And what I've done is I've sewn them, you can see on the back here, I've just joined them each with a stitch, just one stitch on each side. So now they're all together. So you have several of these. Think of them sort of like quilt blocks. Tight, and I don't want necessarily, I'm going to put batting under mine, so I don't necessarily want the fabric underneath to show through. So what I would just keep joining these in a line, just like I was making a block quilt, hooking my row of quilt squares together. But in this case, these are my quilt squares. So I'll just be joining them in a row until I had enough. I'm going to take you in and show you. I've been working on a queen size yo-yo quilt, and I'm going to take you in there and show you. I have it spread out, and I'm going to take you in and show you the big quilt that's coming. It's in formation. I don't know when it'll be done because, like I said, I just work on it every once in a while. I'm making it a queen size, and I want it to be like a full, not just like a quilt that goes on top, but I want it to be like the full comforter. So this is probably hundreds of yo-yos, and I have it used to be actually the fabric to an old comforter that so I'm laying the yo-yos down on that just until I get to use it as a measurement. When I'm ready to put it together, I'll put my batting in between it. I'll probably put another piece of cotton over the batting just so none of the batting comes through these little holes. And then at that point, I will single stitch through the center, probably of every one of these yo-yos, to attach it all together to make sure it stays very secure. Take you in and show you another project that took me since college to finish, but I finally did it last year. I graduated in 1987. Somebody gave me this Let me see if I can get back up so you can see how big it is. There's the niche on my wall. Someone gave me this Colonial Sampler kit. That was in '87. I was 18. I worked on this all the way through college. Finished all the way to the top of this tree. Sometime before my oldest son was born. So that was '97. So that took 10 years. I had just this part left. And last year I pulled this out and I was like, okay, darn it, I am finishing this thing. It's been here for 20 some odd years. And I would work on a leaf here and there, you know, all those years. And finally I was like, I'm just finishing it. So I sat down and I finished that. So that's a project that took a long time. So that's a little bit of a history on some of my sewing projects that took forever. One thing, let me tell you how, if you do wish to do like a little clown or I've seen little animals and stuff, you just stack them. And I've made these for baby gifts. You just stack them until you like, if you have the leg, the length that you want, however big you're deciding. Sometimes it's good if you don't really know and you're not using a pattern to like hold it, like find a stuffed animal that you sort of want, or a doll or something that you like the length, and then you can sort of compare the you know, obviously you'll make 4 strands. You'll make 2 legs and 2 arms, and then a middle body and a head. Usually I make a little head, a stuffed head, and embroider the face on it, and then you can actually put a couple of these on for a hat or make it look like a little beret. But you just feed your needle through the holes. These holes make it really convenient because you always have a center. So you just poke it up through there. And you're just sort of threading it, sort of like you do popcorn for making Christmas garland. Until you get as many as you want. So that's what you would do. You just do that until they got to the end, and then you would make your connecting stitches to make it secure. You could also make a little stuff, like just a little ball, or you could use a pom-pom to put at the end. It just depends. A lot of that depends on the child you're making it for and the age, and whether or not you think it's going to be used for more of just a nursery decoration, or is it going to be played with. If you're making these for small children, that these are going to be played with, everything that you put into this construction you have to consider. Can they get this off? Can they eat this? Can they choke on this? So I would reserve a lot of these old-fashioned sort of toys more for either a child 4 and up, or just, you know, if you know the parent well and you know they're just going to put it on a shelf and it's just more of a keepsake because you made it by hand. So these are very versatile. You can do all kinds of things with these little yo-yos. Your imagination is your guide. It's easy. Like I said, it's a very easy project for a beginning seamstress. It's a very easy project for a experienced seamstress who just wants something that they don't have to really think about, and it's a nice little time passing craft. So I hope this has been a easy lesson. And if you have any questions, always put them in the comments. And if I didn't make something clear, I will always try to answer that. So thank you for joining us today. Bye.